I think this is not the end of an era for Manchester City. I think it is just a bad, weird season. The 115 charges, which have been hanging over the football club, are, by all accounts, it seems like City are going to get off scot-free and they're going to win that case, okay? So that will be gone. Rodri, the best player in the world, is going to be back for Manchester City. I think that Pep Guardiola, well documented, he's had some, family issues off the pitch that hopefully will have settled down by the start of next season. Hugo Viana, the new sporting director, is coming in the summer, okay? So that's something new as well. So Manchester City are actually, yes, going through a weird transitional season, but they are putting everything in place next season to be back to pretty much close to where they were. The other point here is that everyone talks about this as an aging Manchester City squad, and it is in many ways. But it depends how you frame it, because if you look at that Manchester City squad, Haaland, 24, Savinho, 20, Marmoush, 22, Doku, 22, Foden, 24, Gonzalez, 23, Rodri, 28. There's still the core of talented footballers in their 20s in that side. They'll go out in the summer. I think they're going to buy 2 or 3 starters. Apparently, they're heavily linked to Florian Wirtz at Leverkusen, so he might come in and fill that kind of Kevin De Bruyne role as the creative force. And I don't think it's the end of an era. I just think it's a bad season. And by the way, this season could easily end with Manchester City finishing 4th and winning the FA Cup. For most sides, for every single Premier League side, apart from Manchester City, that's a great season. If you offered Arteta a top 4 finish and a trophy at the start of the season, he would have taken it. If you offered Arne Slot a top 4 finish and a trophy at the start of the season, he would have taken it. Same could be said for Villa, Tottenham, Newcastle, Man United, Bournemouth, like anyone. So that's still very much in play for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City this season. And I think it's very possible that they win the FA Cup, finish 4th or 5th, qualify for the Champions League. And it's not this mad disaster of a season. It's actually just a transition, just a weird season where everything didn't go right for them. And I think next season they'll be absolutely right up there. And I'll say it now, I make them favourites already for the Premier League title next season.
Well, any discussion of a City team collapsing and not being able to rebuild is just hyperbolic nonsense at the end of the day. For all of those reasons that you mentioned, and the fact that they're financially backed up to the hilt, which they will use to strengthen a side that, as you say, already has a lot of good great young talent, let's be honest, in it. So all I think it is now is Pep Guardiola, the latter part of this season, secure a top 4 or top 5. Make sure you're in Champions League spots come the end of this season, whatever that isn't going to be and is needed. And you make sure that you're now starting to build a foundation of a style of football and a starting 11 maybe that is perhaps more filled with your kind of mid to young 20-year-olds who are going to be the next generation taking you on. All it takes is a little bit of forward thinking and planning. And I don't think Manchester City fans would begrudge Pep Guardiola that. There's no City fan that I've ever heard calling for Guardiola's head or anything like that. I mean, that's the one thing of common sense that seems to be prevailing at this point. The City fans are going, why on earth would I turn my back on this manager who's given us
Adrian Durham wants him
that
gone.
we've ever desired as a football club?
I don't know whether you've heard this. And Adrian Durham, by the way, if you don't know who Adrian Durham is, one of the greatest sports broadcasters of our generation in many ways, like flirting with the shock jock style on TalkSport, but as a kind of a broadcaster, as a man who loves his football, amazing. And his point, Ollie, sorry to interrupt you, but his point is that, do you think at Real Madrid, Pep Guardiola would have got away with this season? Of course he wouldn't. He would have been gone by December. So his point is, if you really want to be that football club, then Pep Guardiola would have got sacked. I agree with you. It's an absurd conversation. I think he'll come back,
Well, I also think we're looking at this kind of, I get it, at Real Madrid, maybe that doesn't happen. Real Madrid have the patience of a freaking gnat as a football club, which has worked to their favour and also has been detrimental towards them as well in the past, So, and I think you see more success of good managers being stuck with over footballing history than good managers being flung out on their ear the first time that things start to go wrong. So I wouldn't, as much as I'm a big fan of Adrian Durham professionally and personally, I think you know why that is being said and discussed over the airwaves of the United Kingdom right now, because it's trying to get us into this situation that, I mean, it's the same as who was it? There was an ex-Chelsea player who was talking about how Chelsea shouldn't be willing to settle for just trying to push for European championships. This is a Chelsea team that European places, in the Premier League, and this is a Chelsea team that has to be fighting for Premier League titles all the time. And it's like, wait a minute, no, it's not. This isn't a Chelsea that has always been at the top level. When we were growing up, Chelsea was a bang solid
Cup team.
mid-table to top of at best. And then they had a load of money came in, and suddenly the narrative changes. But if everybody else, your cities, obviously Manchester United always had money, Liverpool have had a big cash injection with the US owners, etc., Newcastle. If all of these teams are suddenly getting loads of money, the special thing that suddenly elevated Chelsea into guaranteed pushing for Premier League titles isn't there anymore. So you have to readjust. And it's not like it's a guaranteed thing that Chelsea should be fighting for Premier League titles. Football is this crazy game where you have to get everything right still, regardless of the amount of money. Look how long it took Chelsea or Manchester City to get it right when the first money injections came into the clubs. It still takes time to build a team to win a Premier League title. But all of these things are just said to get us chatting about them like we are now, so we can have a discussion. So then there's a clip made up, so that goes off. Oh, Adrian Durham said this on TalkSport. Adrian Durham's ludicrous. Oh, Adrian Durham, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a damn what 99% of these people say and think. I enjoy very much being able to make my own mind up on a lot of these things in football and actually turning off the hyperbolic rhetoric and sitting down and going, yeah, there's no way Manchester City should get or would get rid of Pep Guardiola at this point. And the sense is being said from the stands, which is something very rare, I think, in football more than anything else. So if you actually sit and listen to City supporters say, yeah, it's a weird year, it's a bad year, the Rodri loss has affected us in ways that we never knew how much of a linchpin that he was in this team, but he is. Fine. We go again. And they will go again. And it's like this ludicrous, kind of almost sounds theatrical. We will ride once more kind of thing. But that is what City will do. They will ride once more and be pushing for a Premier League title next season, without a doubt. And anybody that doesn't think that and thinks it's a cataclysmic failure this year is just talking out of place